Welcome to Pathways to Greatness, where we explore the journeys of exceptional individuals who have achieved remarkable success in their fields. Whether you're an aspiring athlete, a business leader, or simply someone striving to reach your full potential, this podcast is your guide to unlocking the greatness within you. Join us as we dive into inspiring stories, practical strategies, and the mindset shifts that can transform your path to greatness. Let's embark on this journey together. Hey, welcome back to Pathways to Greatness podcast. It's me, Jeff Forrester, and today's guest is Rosalie Kissmann, and she is so full of energy that it is definitely infectious in the sense that she brings happiness and joy everywhere she goes. As she says in the episode, she's not always like that, but it's a purpose, and that she's very intentional on creating that. And you'll be able to, if you're watching this, you'll see the sign over her shoulder that says happiness is self-made. And it's true. It's a decision, and it's a decision that she makes every day. And she goes through some of the practical steps that she uses to do that, and that will help you as well. And then also one thing that I enjoyed is I asked her, what does she learn from her second graders that she can apply to her life? And it's such a valuable lesson. I'm not going to tell you because I need you to listen to this episode. It's great. She talks about being where your feet are. We talk about her warning label, just so many different things. It was a pleasure to have her on. So ladies and gentlemen, Rosalie Kissmann. Well, welcome back to the Pathways to Greatness podcast. And today you're going to be blown away with happiness and joy, I think. So this is Rosalie Kissmann, and I met her through a good friend, Phil, and he had me on one of his Zoom calls for teachers, and she was on there, and she's fired out of a cannon, which is awesome, first thing. And I know that she's a big coffee drinker, so it's not a surprise.
Yeah.
So Rosalie, thank you for hopping on.
Thank you for having me. I am so honored. And yes, I have already had 2 cups of coffee. So as we're recording this, it's 10 a.m., but I've only had 2 cups of coffee. I didn't want to have too much more because I didn't want to be too wired.
Yeah. Now, do you put anything in your coffee?
I drink it black.
Perfect. That's the only way to do it.
It's rocket fuel. We need the rocket fuel. So my first 2 are always rocket fuel. And then I have my afternoon coffee, which is my dessert time coffee. And that's where I put a little milk or a little sugar in it. Oh, but in the morning, we just mean business. We just need to get it done.
That's right. Well, my dad taught me a long time ago, is he said that if you learn to drink coffee black, he also drank tea unsweetened. He's like, then you can drink it anywhere, anytime. You don't have to worry about these people like, oh, do you have cream and sugar? And they're like, no. Right. Oh, I guess I can't have my coffee.
Right. Exactly. It's very hardcore.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is good. Okay. Well, I know that you know because you've listened to the show, but before we get into everything and before we introduce the audience to you, we like to play a game here on the show. Are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. Would you rather? Would you rather go forward 100 years or go back 100 years?
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, I have to tell you, listen, sneak peek, I'm a teacher, so we do our homework. I knew that Jeff was going to ask the question, okay? So I prepared my answer. Listen, it is 100% absolutely go back in time, 100 years. And the reason why I say that is because I would love to sit down with people in my family, my ancestors who I have never met. And I want to talk to them and I want to thank them because had they not lived, I would not be here today. So me sitting here right now, Rosalie Kissmann, is just a little bit of all of these people that I've never met. And it makes me, and I'm so grateful.
No, that's all. What would be some of the first questions you would want to ask?
Oh my goodness. I would ask them, because, I'm just obsessed with happiness, right? And just attaining happiness. I would ask them, do you think in your life you were truly happy? I would ask them, what made you happy in life? Do you feel that you lived your authentic life? Because I feel like that is so important. But I don't know if our ancestors were able to live a true authentic life. Because listen, we're living in times that are way different than 100 years ago. So it would just be great to sit down. I'd make a cup of coffee for us. Black if it's in the morning. We'll add something if it's in the afternoon.
Yeah, back then it would have been like cowboy coffee. So I think it would have put hair on all of our chests
Yeah.
back in the day. When I think about what you said about living your authentic life, for them, it was survival.
Yes.
So I don't know if they had that chance of having self reflection and the ability to know something other than I've got to work to provide food to take care of
Right.
my family. Like that was it.
Right. And maybe happiness for them was I checked the boxes. I kept my family alive. I gave my family food. I provided for them, and that made them happy. But now, today, those are things that can provide happiness for us, right? Like we need the basics. If you don't have the basics, you can't be happy, right? But happiness is so much more than just checking off those basic boxes of food and shelter.
Do you think we may have it too easy? Like we get hung up on these weird little things that really don't matter because life is pretty easy and it's pretty comfortable right now?
I think so. I think our attention is not where it needs to be. So my brain, I'm constantly trying to ground my brain. My brain is always up in the sky and all right, well, I'm worried about this, little things at work. I'm a teacher. Can't believe that the copy machine jammed again. I needed that. Can you believe that parent email? But then you know what I say to myself? And I have to talk to myself because just because I'm obsessed with being happy doesn't mean I'm happy all the time. Ask my husband. I'm just saying. I have to talk to myself and I have to say, that's human stuff. That's the stuff that doesn't matter because I always try to operate on a soul level, on a higher level.
I have to write that down because that's awesome. Because we're going to come back to that.
Yeah, please do. I'm obsessed over it. So I'm obsessed with happiness and spirituality.
Yeah.
And spirituality, a lot of people put it together with religion. And I always say, listen, spirituality is so big, it doesn't fit into a brick building. It's so much more than that. It's so much more than the rules that they're giving us. So for me, it goes hand in hand. I typically stay away from talking about spirituality. It scares a lot of people. And I want people to be open to my message. But then I test them out. I feel the waters. And if I feel like they're receptive to it and they understand it, then I go full force ahead because it's a huge part of me.
Yeah. And you bring up a good point is that there's so many times that how we live serves more of an example than, being an evangelist, so to speak. You're a happiness evangelist or an evangelist of happiness because it's just you spreading that word. And, as a Christian, for me, it's the fruits of the Spirit. If we could exhibit those on a daily basis, that could be enough to start a conversation to help people and just to stand out from the world, like you said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So the next one, would you want to always know the right answer or make the right decision?
This is a tough one. I flip-flop back and forth. Okay. I would always want to know. Tell me again how you phrased it so I can use those same words.
Always know the right answer or make the right decision?
I would always want to know the right answer, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to choose it. Okay. So sometimes we know the things that we have to do, but we refuse to do it. And let me tell you, I do not regret anything that I've done in my life because I've messed up a ton. Okay. I've done some things that I look back and I go, oh man, I'm not proud of that, but it made me who I am today. So I would never undo it. If somebody said, would you, through all of your struggles, would you undo that? The answer is no. So sometimes we know those right decisions, but we don't make them. We just do what we want. But there's such learning and growth in that.
Yeah. And I like what you said is that we do what we want. And I encourage people to always be honest in the sense of don't say, well, I just can't do that. Just say, I don't want to do it. If you don't want to do it, you can do it. You just don't want to put forth the effort that it may require you to accomplish what you need to accomplish.
Right. And sometimes making the right decision is so hard. There's going to be a lot of pain afterwards. It's not easy to make the right decision. So sometimes we don't make it, but we know what's right. We know right from wrong. We just don't make it. But I own all of it. I pride myself on being so authentic. It's like, look, I've messed up so many times. It doesn't matter. It just made me who I am today. It's okay.
Yeah, yeah, and that it affords other people the opportunity to be authentic back because they're like,
Yes.
well, if she's open to all of this, well, I guess I kind of need to be as well, and it can be freeing for other people.
Yeah, people call me a breath of fresh air. And I always think about that. Like, why are they calling me that? Is it because I'm not trying to keep up with all the brands and all of the things? I don't value stuff? Is it that? No, I think it's everybody puts on this facade and this persona, and you have to be a certain way. And I don't. I love talking about the messy stuff. I was leaving work the other day and the custodian saw me and I said, "Bye, Oscar." And he looked at me and I go, "Oh, I'm just having a mental breakdown here. It's absolutely fine. How are you doing?" And he's just laughing. I'm so transparent and authentic. And I think that if we do that, it allows other people to be the same with us. You're right.
Do This is a very honest,
Yeah.
authentic question. Do people get annoyed of how happy you are and
Yes.
the energy that you bring?
Yes. I think a lot of people do, but then I look and I go, "Oh, you weren't my people." It's- I but listen, I operate in two modes. Full disclosure here, okay? Anybody who knows me and is listening right now is hysterically laughing because I am your ultimate joy person. And then I'm crying on my kitchen floor. I don't do the gray really well at all, but I'm working on it. I'm working to just live happily in the middle. But the way that I operate is for the most part very high, very happy, very positive. And when you exude that and you show people that, they automatically give it back to you. You have set a very high standard, so they'll
Yeah.
give it in return.
Maybe not at first. This is
Yeah.
a good value because I'm the same way. People get annoyed with me. They're like, all you do is sing rainbows and butterflies and unicorns. I'm like, it's better than the alternative of
Right.
being ugly and mean all the time.
Right.
But people that are kind of in that place of misery that love to live there, they don't like people like us who bring joy. My mom's the same way. So you and my mom would get along famously because she sees the bright in everything, which
I
is
love that.
so awesome. It's painful at times because we get taken advantage of by looking for the best in people. But when people are living in that misery, they don't know how to handle us
Mhm.
because we don't join in the negativity with them and it makes them very uncomfortable. So if you want to be happy, be prepared for the non-happy people to push back and try to get you where they're at.
Yeah, and I think that it makes them feel uncomfortable because they feel, and we're not trying to do this, they feel that we're holding up a mirror and just showing them who they are. It's like, "Look, I'm so happy. Look at you. I'm holding a mirror. You're miserable." It's right. I think it makes them feel insecure and feel like they should be maybe doing things differently. But being happy is not easy. It's such intentional work every day. I don't just wake up skipping around. There are things that I do every day to be happy.
Yeah, for those who aren't watching and those who are watching, if you look over her right shoulder, it says happiness is self-made. And it's true. It's like it's a decision and it's a muscle.
Yes, it is. It's the way I live my life. That's it.
Yeah. And that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you rather have pizza or tacos?
It's a very tough one because those are two great foods, okay? I have to go pizza because I'm Italian. So, all of my fellow Italians out there, if they heard me choosing tacos, they'd be very disappointed, okay? And it's any of the pizza, all of the pizza. As long as there is a prerequisite of there is bread of some sort, because we are all about the carbs, okay? I don't care about the desserts. You can keep your dessert. Give me all of the bread. There needs to be bread. Put some sauce on there. Cheese is optional. I don't care. I'll take it any which way. You want to slap a pineapple on there? I'm not hating it. I love all the pizza.
That's awesome. That's very good. I'm with you on that one. And I'll eat either one. I like food in general, but
Yeah.
I would say pizza is one of my
Oh,
staples. And I don't know if I've ever had bad pizza. It's like a scale of
right.
pizza, It works. I've eaten it from 7-Eleven. It's not my favorite, but it'll work.
I mean, a frozen pizza, I've actually never met a pizza I didn't like.
Yeah.
It's like it's bread, and who doesn't love bread?
Right.
But also, disclaimer, I do live in New York State, so we do have the best pizza around. Although Connecticut is trying to hop in there and they're claiming they have the best pizza. And I'm like,
Yeah.
excuse me, no.
Yeah, they're making a run.
Who's doing your research there? It's New York State, it's pizza, and we fold it.
Yeah. I live in Orlando, so we have a plethora of different foods from all areas. So we found a place that has Detroit pizza. Have you ever had Detroit style pizza?
I don't even know what that is. What is that?
It's really good. So it's kind of almost like Brooklyn pizza, like the big thick Sicilian.
Okay.
But it's not as thick, and they pour it in a super hot pan so it sears the edges.
Yeah.
But it's square and it's good. But
That's
it's pizza.
amazing.
So
that sounds great.
Yeah.
Sounds amazing.
It's like I think it's a cross between New York and Chicago. It's not as bready and heavy as Chicago, but a little bit more bread than New York.
Amazing. Sounds delicious to me.
Went on a food tangent. Okay. So last one is, if you came with a warning label, what would it say?
Oh boy. If I came with a warning label, it would say, make way for the happiest little badass. Am I allowed to say badass?
Sure.
Okay. Because if you look at me, I'm little and I'm cute, but I'm a badass. I'm very kind. I'll give you the shirt off my back. I will help humanity. But if I feel wronged, if I feel like you are doing something that is taking away from the good, the positivity, and the light of humanity, you watch me roar. I get right in there.
It's the Italian in you.
It is. But I do have a very slow fuse. So I'm kind, I listen, I'm just kind of taking it all in. But then when I feel that there is a disservice to someone, something, I really get fired up. I live my life that if you choose to put good out there, good, love, light, positivity, it will always come back at you. I believe that the way that we live our lives is like an Instagram algorithm. Okay. So I hop on Instagram. I constantly like two main things. I love puppies. So I like all the pictures with puppies, right? And I like things that make me think, motivational speakers. So I like all of those. And what is my feed filled with? Puppies, motivational speakers. And that's the same thing with our life and the universe. Okay. Same algorithm. You put good, love, light out there. It takes it in and it says, oh, she likes that. Oh, he likes that. I'm going to actually serve you up more. I'm going to give you more of that. Think about all the friends that you have, coworkers you have. All they do is complain, and all they do is act in a negative way. What are they getting back? Doesn't it seem like a cloud is following them around and it's like, oh man, that happened to them again? Man, they have such bad luck. What if it's the universe taking in what we give and dishing it right back to us? Makes you think, right?
Yeah, for sure. Well, Rosalie, that goes perfectly into Pathways to Greatness. It's a choice. And I started Pathways to Greatness to bring people on like yourself to share tactics and strategies for other people on their pathway. And then also just to show, like we talked about earlier, it's not a straight line. It is not a point A to point B. It's not linear. There are so many ups and downs that we have to deal with. And it's the decisions that we make of how to handle those is what helps us continue on that path. So with all that being said, what would you say your definition of greatness is?
Okay, my definition of greatness. You must figure out what your life's purpose is. That's part A. Okay, figure it out. How do I figure it out? I always say just stop and listen. Intuition is big and intuition is real. You have to listen to that inner knowing. What lights a fire under your tush? What do you love? What are you so deeply excited about? And you have to follow that. So it might take you a couple of years, it might take you a couple of decades to figure out what your life's purpose is. Okay, so that's part A. Part B is every single day you have to do the work and live unapologetically to and with conviction to achieve that goal. Okay. So listen, I graduated from college, elementary school teacher, and I did my work. My first full day of teaching, by the way, was 9/11. Can you imagine coming out of college? You're what, 21 years old? And my principal comes by and says, something's happening. There was a plane that hit the World Trade Center, and I'm 21 years old. I'm like, wow, that person must have been sick, right? They hit. How do you hit a building, right? And then she came back and she said, something's going on, Rosalie. There's a second plane now. I was teaching in Mount Vernon, New York. So if you're not from the New York State area, you might not know. Mount Vernon is, I'd say 15, 20 minutes away from New York City. Okay. So it's that day forever changed my life. But sorry, that's like a side story. Graduated, I'm a teacher. I did not figure out that I was more than just this teacher. So I didn't figure out my life's purpose until I was in my 40s. So it can take decades. A, figure it out. B, live your day, live your life every single day to achieve that goal. What do I have to do? Right? Live authentically and unapologetically until you get to that goal and work hard.
That's great. And I know that I appreciate the concept of you won't figure it out right away.
No.
And I saw an interesting statistic that most people have like 7 different life-altering changes in their life before they hit their stride. And so my son's 16, he's a junior in high school. And I had to let them know, because so many 18-year-olds think, well, whatever decision I make and whatever major I decide in college is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And it's an overwhelming avalanche of pressure to think about this decision. And so I saw that article and I thought, you know what? I need to make sure that my son knows that. I'm like, look, whatever you decide is what you decide. It's not the end of the earth if you want to go this route. And then when you're done, you shift. It's not a big deal. So just pick what you think you want to do and then shift. And I told him, I was like, I'm a prime example. You know, I'm late in my 40s. I was 48 and I completely shifted from what I had done for the past 22 years. And I, like you, is like, I'm ready for what's next because of all the back education that I got to prepare me for this next move.
Right. But it was your prerequisite. That's why we don't go in wanting to change anything, because somebody could look at your life or my life and go, listen, maybe you wasted all that time. What if you knew from the beginning that you wanted to do this specific thing, or you wanted to go into motivational speaking? Gosh, you wasted your time. Could you imagine how much grander it would be if you had been working on this craft for 45 years? And I would say, no, teaching was my prerequisite. Being a mother was my prerequisite. Everything that I've gone through in my life has taken me to this moment, which is right here and now in 2025. And this version of me would not have existed had I not gone through all of those things. We have to get into the ear of young people and tell them, whatever you're choosing to do in college, like you said, it's a start. You can always pivot, because I think the impression is they think it's linear. I'm going to school. I'm going to study this. I have to commit to this until I retire. And if I'm unhappy, it's okay. Yeah, I'm making money. It is what it is. Life is not always going to be happiness. But if we can just get into their ears and say, you're going to pivot so many times. Oh my gosh. I always tell my girls, I have 9 and 12-year-old girls. I always say, oh, I messed up so many times. Here we go, messing up again. If we normalize this conversation, then it's easier for them. They need to hear it.
Yeah. And adults need to hear it.
Yes, they do.
Are paralyzed with that and don't think they can shift. So everybody, I just want to reintroduce Rosalie. We've had great conversations so far. I was like, it's 22 minutes and I haven't even told people who you are.
I'm a little, I I like to chat. I'm a chatter. I could talk to anybody.
And that's perfect for a podcast. You don't want, as a host, you don't want people who don't like to talk. It's not fun. But everybody, this is Rosalie Kissmann. She's an educator and she's a speaker on finding happiness in everyday life. And if you follow her on Instagram, you'll see that. And then a cultivator of all things joy.
Oh, yeah.
So tell me a little bit more, in the audience, a little bit more about that last one, about a cultivator of all things joy.
Yeah, I just walk through life trying to find all of the things that give me a spark inside of my heart. And they're tiny. I find things and I just hold on to them. And I might say, oh my goodness, did you feel, there's a book behind me. I love this book because of the words inside, but did you feel that cover? It just brings such joy to my heart. Or if I'm sitting down and I'm having a cup of coffee, that first sip is everything. That food, I make everything that I do, come across, eat, drink, an experience. And it just brings joy to my heart. So I find all of those beautiful things. There can also be joy in things that we deem very sad too. I recently had a post that got a lot of people talking. And my mom goes, I don't even understand you. Where'd you come from? I said, can there be joy in, ready? Death. Yeah, there can be joy in death. So you'll have to go check that out. You know, I planned my whole funeral out in that post. I'm like, listen, if you're coming to my funeral, you better be wearing bright clothes, preferably neon. This is my playlist. I want you to tell all the stories. The more drama, the better. Tell it all. I don't care. I'm not there. And I said, for goodness sake, close that casket. I don't want anybody looking at me going, she looks good. No, I don't look good. I look dead. Okay. Close the casket.
Yeah. Well, and what I like about that, thank you for sharing, is that it's a choice.
Yeah.
So with that, of how you look for everything, describe to the audience, like, because like we talked about before, some people just don't do that. They look for, like, why is the coffee not hot enough? Why is it, like, they look for the wrong in every situation. How do they start taking those baby steps of gratitude and cultivating joy in their life?
That's a good question. I think you have to be so intentional and retrain your brain looking for the stuff. So it doesn't, listen, I do this now because it's ingrained deeply inside of my soul. I see these things. I always say that 99% of the population is sleepwalking. They do not see anything around them. I am very deeply feeling and I notice these things and it's my superpower. So when people say, you're too sensitive, I say, no, I'm deeply feeling and I get it. You're actually the one who's asleep. So I think for people listening right now, if they are finding it hard to find all of these little sparks of joy, be intentional. Wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to find one thing around my house that brings me joy. So maybe it's, I got my favorite coffee mug this morning. Great. I'm walking by my favorite painting. Oh, I like that. And when you leave the house, always be on the lookout for all the little things that we miss them. I always say, be where your feet are. Okay. So when I'm walking to my car, when we leave in the morning, I leave. So it's me, it's two kids. We're all driving to school. Just envision this. Okay. I have my school bag, my lunch bag. I'm typically carrying someone's clarinet, a book they forgot. Now the big thing is like those, what are the cups that are humongous with the handle? The Stanleys.
Stanley cup.
It's like, okay, great. And now, I don't want you to fall down our 29 stairs. I'll get your Stanley too. So I'm juggling everything. I get into my car, I get into work, and I'm like, how did I even get here? When I intentionally stop, but I have to talk to myself. So I have a lot of conversations inside this big, beautiful brain. I go, wait a second, stop. And it snaps me out of it. It's almost like I wake up and I go, oh my gosh, the sky looks so beautiful today. Oh my gosh, look, there's a beautiful bird. It's almost like I wake up to it. So me, I'm the joy person. I have to retrain my brain and I have to say, knock it off. Look around you. Look at all of the beauty. Look at all of the joy.
Yeah, and I want people to take note of what Rosalie shared as just being intentional and finding one little thing. And what happens is over time that starts to build. I'm a big sticky note kind of guy. So for me, it helps to find, like, have a sticky note that tells me and reminds me, look for one good thing before you leave.
Yeah.
And like you, I'm a word choice
Mhm.
guy. Is that you, when you leave the house, say, I'm going to have a good day. It's not dreading the day or like, oh, I don't want to go to work today. Well, then it's going to be a bad day before you even
Exactly.
get there.
So what I always say to the kids in class, so listen, I teach second grade. Okay. I've been an elementary educator for 24 years. Yes. In case you're doing the math, I started teaching at 10. I always tell the kids when we have a good day, people will say, wow, this is like magic. Or they'll say, you have a really good class. And I look at them and I say, wait a second. One, it's not magic. Two, we work really hard. I always tell them it is all of the micro decisions that you make all day long here at school adds up to your good day. So if you're going into work, right, and you make all of these tiny micro decisions all day to stop, to notice, to be kind. Why are we walking looking down? I'm walking around with a big smile. Also because I have my resting face always looks like I'm mad. Okay. I'm always smiling. I engage people. I say good morning. All of those micro decisions lead up to living a happy life. There's no shortcut. You have to work. It's like, oh man, I really want a six pack. Well, guess what? I don't do one sit up. I'm not getting a six pack. You have to be intentional. You have to put in the work every day.
That's perfect, because it's a choice. And I was thinking while you were talking, what are some lessons that you've learned from your second graders that could help an adult live a more fulfilling life?
Okay. The thing that they teach me the most is having fun. We have forgotten to have fun as adults. I don't know about you, but unless I break myself out of it, my life is a never ending to do list. Okay. Even when I'm in the shower, it's a to do list. I'm not like dreaming and thinking about these grand things and singing. It's a to do list. Okay. You're going to wash your hair. You're going to condition your hair. You're going to comb your hair. It's okay. I get out of the shower. I'm trying to get out of the house. At work, I operate with to do lists written out and inside of my head. When I get home, I have to do dishes. I have to do laundry. Who the heck is having fun? I don't know. I'm not having fun unless I'm intentionally having fun. So the kids, they'll snap me out of it. They'll say, my students, like, oh, hey, so I'm busy. They're eating snack, right? So I'm busy going, oh my gosh, what am I teaching for phonics, right? That's the next thing. Phonics, writing. Elementary school teachers, in case you don't know, we teach everything. You have to have a reading, writing, phonics, science, social studies, math, talking about feelings. You have to have that all planned out every single day. There's a zillion moving pieces. So I'm in my head, right? I'm like, oh, let me pull up the phonics 3-7 slide deck. And they'll come up to me with their snack and go, hey, Mrs. Kissmann, there's a joke inside of my whatever fruit roll up. Do you want to hear it? And I'm like, oh my gosh, wait, this is fun. And then all of a sudden we just start laughing and you get pulled out of it. So I think the big long-winded answer is have some stinking fun.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you said that, because I'm challenged with that, and I do feel most adults are challenged, and we have to listen to our kids, because when they do that, you need to just, with like the emergency brake, put everything that you're doing on a halt and pay attention to them, because I can remember to this day, I don't know, I was maybe 6 or 7, and I asked my dad if he wanted to play checkers. And he said no, because he was too tired, which I 100% believe it. He didn't think anything about it. But it was had so much impact that I remember it to this day. So if you feel something nudge, like you said, the intuition of, you know what, sit down and play a card game. Ask somebody if they want to play, color, do something. If it comes across your mind, just stop what you're doing. Take 45 seconds, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. You can make 10 minutes of your day to just have fun, and you will feel your fuel tank go up.
Go up, yeah, but we're part of this grind culture, hustle culture. Everybody has a full-time job, and a lot of people have these side hustles, and there really isn't time for it unless you're carving it out, right? We find time to eat, to exercise, to whatever, fill in the blank. you have to find time for fun. And now your version of fun might be different from my version of fun, right? My fun is I'm going to go to the river and I'm going to walk and I'm going to see all the puppies there and I engage people in conversation, right? I'll say, oh, this backdrop looks so beautiful. Can I take a picture of you? It would make such a beautiful picture. You could trust me. I'm not running away with your phone. I'm a teacher. Just make them laugh, you know? One time I caught a lady sitting there. It was beautiful, a beautiful backdrop. So for me, what fills me up is micro connections. Saw her sitting on a little wall at the river. She was with her dog. And something inside of me, we always say intuition, right? Something inside of me said, stop and talk to this lady. So I said, hi, excuse me. I'm so sorry to bother you. This is such a beautiful backdrop. You and your dog, can I take a picture for you? She looked at me. She started crying. You never know who you're coming across, by the way, right? You don't know what they're going through. And she said, young lady, this is the first sunset that I saw that I'm here witnessing without my husband.
Oh.
My husband passed away. This is what we did all the time. This is my first sunset. So I said, oh my gosh. Well, I started crying. And I said, you know what? Something inside of me told me to stop and take a photo. Now you have this documented forever. But we sat down and we spoke. And I said, listen, I come here most nights. You know, in New York, we have a short window of nice weather, right? So it was beautiful. It was a spring day. I said, I'm going to be here every single night. I gave her the nights. I said, you and me, we walk together. I'll be your buddy. And you know, she didn't take me up on it. I even gave her that offer that day. She wanted to sit there and be in her stillness. And I absolutely understand that. But that little micro connection allowed this connection to happen, right? She found somebody who saw her and who loved her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that doesn't cost a dime.
Nothing.
It's absolutely nothing. And the lasting impact, and just the lasting impact of the story that you just provided the audience and me, is long lasting.
Yeah.
That will encourage them to pay it forward and to look for that happiness.
Just make that connection. Talk to people. Talk to people. Say, how are you? When I ask you how you are, some people laugh and they're like, I asked you, but I really didn't want to know. Like, New York, how you doing? And they're like, please don't answer because we don't really care. But I care so deeply. When I say, how are you? I really want to know how you are. So sometimes people will answer, I'm okay. And I look at them and I go, no, really, how are you doing? When you look at somebody and you tell them, I see you and I love you, validate them. That's all they want. I came across it was an Instagram reel, that when someone's having a really tough day, like really bad, they just need 8 minutes of human connection. That's all they need to turn their life around. So that's how we find happiness and joy. Human connection. Talk to people.
And that's what's dangerous about where society's pushing everybody to do so much stuff virtual. And then you just sit in your own little office and then you connect with people, which is good and it's powerful. But like we said before we started recording, the fact that when you meet someone that you have a connection with in person, it's so much different and so much better. Like, you feel the energy.
You do.
And I got to meet a gentleman last week that I've been friends with on Instagram for probably 6 years. And it was the first time I ever got to meet him. And just the way that we were able to hug as soon as we met each other was just awesome. And then we spent like the next 4 or 5 hours just talking. And we're both introverts, which is interesting. So, there's a good connection there, because like me hearing your story about going up that lady, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I would be battling within my own head. Like, should you go? No, don't bother her. It's okay. Just keep going.
Oh my gosh.
But that goes back to what you said earlier, is you have to cultivate happiness. You have to challenge yourself to not be afraid and push yourself out of the boundary of saying, yeah, I'm introverted, but I can at least talk to someone and I can say something to them because of the impact that I potentially could make on their day.
Right. And you know what? Talk to people who typically don't have anybody talking to them. Ready? The Amazon driver. Saw the Amazon driver one day. My girls are so embarrassed of me. I always say, listen, that's my job. Okay. But they know who I am. I'm such a big personality, right? Saw the Amazon driver. I have 29 stairs going down my condo. I flew down and I was like, hi. And he looked at me and he was like, hey. And I go, I just want to thank you. I'm like, you make this world run. Without you, I don't know where we would be. I am so grateful for you. And he looked at me stunned. And then he had this huge smile and he was so happy. Another time, it was the day before Thanksgiving, and there's somebody stocking all the big turkeys in those open freezers. And I said, sir, and he looked up like, lady, what do you want? It was a zoo in there. It's the day before Thanksgiving, right? It's their Super Bowl. I said, I just want to thank you. Without you, we wouldn't be able to function. I am so grateful. And he's in shock. Seriously, who takes time to thank the Amazon driver and they're saving us? Who takes their time to thank the person who is stocking the like cans of soup? And that's what brings me joy. It's these little micro connections. So we have to just put great value in that. If you don't do it, I highly recommend that you start doing it.
Yes. And we used to, around the holidays, we did not do it this year, is we would put a basket out by the door and say thank you for the delivery drivers and have snacks and drinks. And our Ring doorbell would pick up, some shock and like, oh my goodness. And you'd hear them talking to the basket, like saying, like, oh, this is my favorite. This is great.
I love that.
And they would take it with a big smile on their face. And it's not like trick or treat where sometimes you have kids get up and they just dump the whole basket. They know, and then they're appreciative of it. And so it's those random acts of kindness that just, you don't see it as often. And I think if you went back 100 years, like you talked about, that you have that neighbor that you can borrow salt and sugar from. You know your neighbors, you break bread with your neighbors, and we just don't do it anymore. And if you knock on somebody's door, if it's like my mom, she jumps behind the couch and like, don't turn the lights off. They won't know that I'm here. And I remember growing up, somebody knocked like, I can see you in there.
Did you ever hear or see the Sebastian Maniscalco skit on companies coming over?
Yes.
Have you seen that, Jeff? If
He's
you
so
haven't,
funny.
You have to, because he compares long ago, the doorbell would ring and everybody took out that cake and made coffee and they just danced over to the door. If anybody rings my doorbell, I'm like, someone's here to murder my whole entire family. Girls, don't move. Don't look out the window.
Yeah.
Don't answer.
Don't make eye contact with anybody. It's so true. So, you were talking about that our attention sometimes isn't where it needs to be. How do we recenter that? Because we focus on greatness, we focus on the grind and pursuing side hustles and all these different things. But to me, that's also a recipe for taking your attention away from where it needs to be. So how do you help people get back on track?
Yeah, I always say we are all holding the winning lottery ticket to being happy, and we don't realize it. What do? And we all do this. We get online. We're waiting to buy more lotto tickets. We're just not happy, right? It's like, well, I'll be happy when, and then fill in the blank. I'll be happy when I graduate from college, when I get the job, when I get the house, when I meet my soulmate, when I retire. So those happiness, like the bars that you set, keeps going out and out. I think there's so many answers to your question, but I think it's really being present in the here and now and looking at the things that you are so grateful for. So it really comes from gratitude, okay? And it's how you look at things. I live in a condo. There are 4 people in here, okay? So I can either view it as, I don't have a big house. Right now I'm in my office. I call it an office. It's the corner of an extra bedroom hidden upstairs, okay? We don't have extra space. I am so happy in my little home. Are you kidding? I have the most beautiful place to come home to after work. So I like to do something called downward comparison instead of upward comparison. If I compare myself, if I go up, I go, oh my God, their house is bigger. She's prettier. She's skinnier. She has a better car. I compare myself up against those people, and all I think about is all the things I don't have. If we do downward comparison, that's when we actually have gratitude for things. I'm going to compare my life to some people who might not have all the things that I have. I have a beautiful home. I have a car. I have a family who I love, and they love me so deeply and fiercely. My friends are such a close, tight-knit circle. I'm so blessed. I don't need all the other stuff. So maybe if we just stop and we are truly grateful for everything we have, it can just get us back into the moment and just be happy.
Oh, that's so great, because I've heard this time and time again, is somebody is praying to be where we're at right now. Like,
Yes.
we are where other people dream of
Yeah.
being, and it humbles me, and it puts me in the proper perspective to think of, just like you said, is there's other people that are challenged. There's other people
Yeah.
that wish that they had family members around them, that they had a roof over their head, that they had a computer to look at. And we just so quickly forget,
We forgot.
because like you said, is we're projecting of what we don't have. And so being where your feet are, like Rosalie says, and
Yeah.
then looking back and seeing where you've come, because we're where we wish we would have been 3 years ago.
Yes, we are.
And which is crazy to think, because then I'm always thinking, well, I want more, but then I go back and and then you find those different comparisons of, well, I don't run as fast as I used to, or I don't do this, but I'm way better emotionally than I ever was
Yeah.
3 years ago. So that's that point of gratitude. And when you're on your pathway to greatness, don't forget where you came from and see how far you've come.
Absolutely. And I think there's such happiness in the climb too, right? Like we have these big dreams, which by the way, I'm 45 years old and I'm just getting started. I have such big dreams, but I don't know how fast I want to get to the top. So what's my ultimate big dream, right? I always say, I want to be a teacher of the universe. Being inside of a school building, it's like suffocating to me. I love my job. I love it. But I feel like my energy, my passion for the topic of happiness cannot be contained inside of a brick building. So my ultimate goal is to bring this to as many people as possible, because 25 kids at a time just isn't enough for me. There has to be more to this. What was the question? I don't even remember. I get into my thing and then I forget.
No, that was good. And when you said 25 kids wasn't enough, I'm thinking 25 second graders.
In the climb. I get so, you're like, it's good for a podcast, but then like, I don't know where I was going. The climb, the happiness is in the climb, right? Ultimately, I want to be a teacher of the universe, right? I want to have the entire world as my classroom, right? But once you get there, it's like, wait, so this was it? That's it? Okay, so what if I'm so super famous? Everybody knows my name. I'm the next, I have a Mel Robbins book behind me. I'm the next Mel Robbins. And it's like, okay, wait, I'm here. I got to the top. Maybe I have a famous podcast and I wrote a bunch of books and I'm doing a world tour. And then it's like, wait, that's it? All right, I got here. There is such happiness in the climb and in the becoming of who you were meant to be, because you were meant to be someone so specific here in this lifetime. You just have to figure it out, man. Figure it out and keep hustling to get there.
For sure. And that's such a powerful reminder. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was talking to a gentleman several episodes ago where he won the Super Bowl. He played for the Tampa Bay Bucks and won the Super Bowl. And he's like, this is it? Like,
now what?
Yeah. And you hear that a lot. I've heard plenty of professional athletes that have been interviewed, or billionaires that are sitting on their 200-foot yacht that cost $1 billion. And they're like, this is it?
This is it. I remember Lady Gaga, when she did the Super Bowl halftime show many years ago, there was a documentary and she said, I'm just so excited. The Super Bowl, this is everything. This is what every artist dreams of. And then she looked at the camera and she said, but I'm really scared because now I'm at the end. It's everything I wanted. She got to the top. So what do we do next? Which it's such a good question, right? Like, what do you do when you get there? Do you just want more? Do you find happiness in what you already have? Like, what do you do? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and that's what's powerful also about your perspective is it's flipping the phrase. Instead of when I get this, I'll be happy. It's I'm happy and I want to get this.
And is such a powerful word. I would like to get here and I'm already so happy right here and now where my feet are.
Yeah, because then regardless of if you get it or not, you've put your flag in the ground of I'm happy no matter what happens outside of this. And usually if you're like that, that other thing will happen.
Right. When I think about grand goals, right? When I say teacher of the universe, and then I always giggle and I go, hey, because this is a very scary venture to put yourself out there, right? Making videos, making content, hopping onto a podcast. That's very scary. For a lot of my life, I had FOPO, the fear of other people's opinions. It's so scary. But now the way that I view it is, what's the worst thing that could possibly happen? So when we take risks, what's the worst thing that could happen? The worst thing that could happen is that I still remain really happy. I have the most wonderful job. I have security in every way. I have a family who loves me and friends who are dear to my heart. What is there to lose? So it's like, just go for it.
Yeah, I was watching the movie Free Solo. If you haven't seen it, I think you would enjoy it. It's about this guy that solo climbed up. I think it's El Capitan is the big one that he climbed up, and it was these crazy mountain climbers, because I would never do it, but they said that's how they assessed risk. If I do this, will I die?
Wow.
And when you think about us, like you said, just going on a podcast, you're not going to die if you go on a podcast. So do it. It's okay. And that's why I'll look at certain situations and go, okay, I'm scared to death to do it, but will I die? Is there a chance that I will die? And 99.9% of the times it's a no. Because if there's a chance, I'm not going.
Not doing it. But have you ever done anything in your life that was so hard that you didn't get through? Nope. You've gotten through 100% of all of your struggles. So it's like, no matter, you do it anyway. So it's like, okay, I really want to do this, but I'm afraid. I really want to do this, but I'm afraid of other people's opinions. I really want to do this, but I just don't know how it's going to work out. You do it scared. You do it anyway. And I'm telling you, people are so ego driven. It's all about themselves. They're just thinking about themselves and trying to protect themselves. No one's looking, going, Jeff started his podcast. Rosalie made a video. Nobody cares. If anything, they look and they go, oh my gosh, Jeff has a podcast. I love that. Wow, Rosalie wasn't afraid. I posted a video over the summertime. I was sitting at a pool and I was in a bathing suit. I mean, everything was covered, but I was like, oh dear God, am I really doing this? And I'm like, yeah. I'm sure people were like, she made a video. Wow, she's in her bathing suit. I don't think anyone's judging. If you're judging, you're not one of my people anyway. It's fine. Yeah. Keep moving. There's a lot of people I could find.
Yeah, I had a boss one time tell us that he's like, you're not that important.
Exactly.
And that stings a little bit when you hear that. He's like, sending emails at 2 a.m., you're not that important. So stop it.
It's like a nice way of saying, Jeff, nobody cares. The only person who cares, it's you. It's your ego. Nobody cares. Okay,
exactly.
Relax.
Nobody's thinking twice about you. Maybe fleeting, but then it's gone and they're on to their own thing.
It's God. I love that.
Rosalie, I want to be very sensitive of your time. So what would be some parting remarks you'd like to leave the audience today?
Okay. Gosh, we're done already? I feel like we just started talking. This is part
almost
one.
An hour.
Great. Okay. We love to talk. Guys, this is part one. So stay tuned. We'll have to do a part two. I'll finagle my way in. What is a parting remark? Okay. I want you to know that you are the one who's in charge. There's nobody coming to save you. There's nobody coming. So if you're waiting for someone to come to make you happy, to save you, to give you the answers in your life, you're going to keep waiting. Nobody's coming. You are in charge of everything you do in your life. You are in charge of your own happiness. I wanted to start this happiness work years ago. This came into my brain. It was there kind of like building and bubbling for decades, but it was during COVID and I knew that I needed to do this line of work. And all I did was I waited. I waited because somebody needed to come to me and tell me how to start. I don't know how to start. I've never done anything like this. And then I had an epiphany. It was April 30th, 2024. I will never forget it. And I realized no one is coming. It's up to me. Opened up Instagram, made a handle, made all sorts of different combinations. I felt that joy was really short. I'm like, hey, how about joy? And yeah, there's joy everywhere in our life. It's not just like the happy bubbly things, right? Like a bucket of puppies. It's like redefined. We're gonna give it a new little twist to it. It was there. And then I was like, oh dear God, what do I do now? Like, what do I do now? And it slowly builds. Just start, be intentional. You are in charge. No one's coming to save you.
There you go. That's right across the chin. It's great.
Yeah.
So how can people find and follow you on Instagram?
Okay. If you're on Instagram, I'm Joy_redefined. I am so sorry to say that Joy Redefined was taken. So I had to put an underscore in there. Okay. So please don't judge. I also do have a website. It's joy-redefined.com. So you could find more information if you go in either places. But Instagram is where I do a lot of my work. I make little videos. We have fun. It's just, it is my little hobby, but this is good. You heard it here first. There are big happenings, okay? 2024, we were laying the foundation and the groundwork. 2025, big. And Jeff, when I see you, I'll definitely sign an autograph. I'll give it right over to you.
I was going to say, don't forget the little people.
No, I won't forget the little people.
Well, everybody, please follow Rosalie. It's great. I mean, again, if you need a dash of happiness in the day, she brings the energy every time. So it's a wonderful thing. So Rosalie, thank you for joining the show today. Hang on, everybody. Rosalie Kissmann.
Thank you so much for having me, Jeff. Thank you, guys.
Unleash your potential with Concrete Consulting. Are you a student athlete striving for greatness? Do you want to enhance your mental performance and elevate your game? At Concrete, we specialize in mental performance and success coaching tailored for student athletes, parents, and coaches. Our expert coaches provide personalized strategies to boost confidence, improve focus, and achieve your goals both on and off the field. Don't just play the game, conquer it. Visit concreteconsulting.com and schedule your free consultation today. Take the first step towards success. Thanks for joining us on the Pathways to Greatness podcast. We hope that today's conversation inspired you to take steps towards your own greatness. Remember, every journey starts with a single step. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who might benefit. Actually, share it with 3 people that you might think it might benefit. Until next time, keep pursuing your passions and carving your own path to greatness. Take care.